to Americans across the country and our effort, the president's effort, to continue that fight. It doesn't stop tomorrow at all. This will be the fight of this presidency.
Senate Republicans are expected to block a sweeping bill to protect voting rights today. The Democrats are vowing the fight to pass the For the People Act is just beginning. We'll speak to Ari Berman of Mother Jones. Then we look at.
So I'm here alone. Hello, hello. I don't know how much of a chat we're going to have tonight, but let's give it a few minutes and see if anybody comes. So I'll be back.
On Wall Street, the miners have been on strike since April. All that and more. Welcome to Democracy Now.org, the Quarantine Report, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The World Health Organization said Monday it's setting up a hub in South Africa to help poor and middle-income countries produce their own COVID-19 vaccines using the mRNA technology behind the world's most effective shots. The WHO vaccine production began in South Africa in as little as 9 to 12 months. The UN agency called on Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech to share the technology to make the plan successful. This came as President Cyril Ramaphosa blasted wealthy nations and pharmaceutical companies that have refused to.
Hey there.
Hi, Michelle. How are
How you
you?
doing? I'm
hanging in
okay.
there. Hanging in
Yeah.
there.
So it's just us. So I don't know how long we should give it or what we should do. I haven't heard from Nicole, which is very unusual.
Right?
Yeah. I haven't talked to her this week, but the last time I heard from her was maybe about 3 weeks ago. And she was on overload, so so I'm kind of that's why I went on and put out that document and said, I don't know.
Oh, you did? Let me go and get that.
Yeah. I didn't write any questions. It's just the summaries of the chapters.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about Nicole. BJ is not feeling well.
Oh.
So she's not coming. Geo may show up, but I have seen her around online today. In fact, she just clicked on something. So Geo is probably on her way.
Okay.
So, and here she is.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. So, so that's good. Hey, Gio.
Hey, ladies. What's up?
Hi, Gio.
Hey. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. And because I was just, thinking about whether or not we should proceed or not. But I think since you're here, I think we should. BJ's not feeling well, so she's definitely not coming.
Oh, okay.
And Nicole, I haven't heard from this week. And that's unusual for her. But I know she's had a lot going on, so she may not be able to make it.
Okay.
So, how are you, Gio?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's Tuesday. That's all I can say.
It's Tuesday. Yeah. How are you, Kim?
I don't know. This has been a hard time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'm enjoying the cool weather we have today.
Oh, you have cool weather.
My phone is telling me it's 67 degrees right now.
What?
Mm-hmm.
You're kidding. Okay. Do you have a storm or something, or it's just
raining?
Cool?
It's raining, but it's been mild all day. It hasn't been raining all day.
Okay.
But we are coming off of a heat wave. So today is like the first day I could really kind of breathe.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I went out earlier because, today is voting in New York. So,
yeah, I'm going to vote after this meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And, so it was nice out,
Well, that's good. Well, hopefully it'll be a big turnout for voting. People will show up because the weather's good. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I hope we have our first Black female mayor.
Ooh.
That's my hope. That's my hope.
That's your boo?
That's my girl. That's my Maya. Yes.
Yeah. That's my candidate.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know who my other 3 choices are, or 4 choices. I'm like, oh, pooh. I don't even know who the rest to vote for.
Yeah. So, and then we have, this is the first time we're doing ranked choice voting in New York. So for the mayoral race, you can choose your top 5 candidates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's
then,
interesting.
Yeah. And then there's like city council and borough president, Brooklyn borough president, a couple other things. So all of them, some of them had multiple candidates, but some of them didn't.
No.
Yeah, so, and they say, like the presidential election, we should plan on it taking some days or weeks for the final count to be done. So.
Okay. Gone are the good old days of instant voting results.
They really are. It's really interesting with all this high-tech technology that we have. It seems like voting is one area that doesn't seem to benefit very much from it. And the experts are always really recommending paper ballots because, they're harder
Insecure.
to check with. Yeah.
Why don't we get started? Because I'm going to need to leave at 7:30 sharp to vote.
Okay.
Okay.
That's okay?
Yeah. So, well, welcome to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle, session 15. Tonight is our last discussion on Octavia's Brood, science fiction stories from social justice movements, edited by Adrienne Marie Brown and Walidah Imarisha. So we closed the book on Octavia's Brood tonight, which is a collection of short stories inspired by Octavia Butler. And apparently today happens to be Octavia Butler's birthday.
Yeah, did you plan that, Michelle?
I did not.
Wow.
I did not. So she's up there working it out.
Oh.
So you can learn more about the Global Black Feminists on YouTube, where all of our videos are held, and on Facebook, where we post event invitations. But I don't know what our next book is going to be yet. But we do want to try to get back together next Tuesday, June 29th, to try to figure that out. I'm Michelle Odom, and I'm in Brooklyn, New York. And Kim?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Brandon, and I am also in New York. I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you. And Gio?
Hey, I'm Georgette Moses, and I'm joining you guys from Columbia, South Carolina. Yay! Meeting number 9.
There's Kim's book.
All right. Yes.
So tonight is the last 4 items that are in the book, Children Who Fly by Leah Lakshmi Piepzna-Samarasinha. That's a lot of name, right?
Yeah.
Star Wars and the American Imagination by Mumia Abu-Jamal. The Only Lasting Truth by Tanana Reeve-Dew. And the outro by Adrienne Marie Brown, who's one of the editors. And then to just take a few minutes at the end to reflect overall on the entire book. So as I mentioned, Nicole was supposed to be our facilitator tonight, but obviously she is tied up. And so at the last minute, I just kind of pulled out the summaries for each of these readings and did not have a chance to really develop any questions. But, we've always said our fallback position was to do just an open book kind of free flowing. So we haven't done that, I don't think, at all with this book. So that's where we are tonight. So, Kim, you want to get us started and read the description for number 1, please?
I'll read the next one if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Do you have it, Gina?
Yep, sure. Children Who Fly by Leah Lakshmi Piepzna-Samarasinha.
You did better than me.
is a story about a spiritually enlightened and psychic queer person with the capacity to send her spirit soaring away from his body to deaden the pain of life brought on from catastrophes like rape and nuclear war.
Thank you. So any thoughts about children who fly?
It was dark.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got rape and nuclear war going on in there. So, it's I think one of the questions that came up for me early was, is this a world you would even want to bring a child in? Because it starts out, this thing about this child wanting to be born, that the mother knew this child wanted to be born. So I'm thinking, after I read the story, I'm thinking, what do mother, even today in our world as it is, I wonder what young women are thinking about that question. Whether or not you want to bring a child into this world as it is. I was talking to one of my only older brother today, and we talk about politics a little. So he was just making the point that in all his years, this is the first time he's ever seen the kind of challenge that we're seeing to democracy. So if he's never seen it, then I've certainly never seen it.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a dark world. We have things here. Yeah.
I like that thought of, what are young women thinking about? And it saddens me that they would be forced to change what their dreams were and what their hopes were for children and fantasy given or family, based on this pandemic and what's happening in this country. But I know it's real because I'm out now that we're outside again, and you see people who are very pregnant, and I always have this bizarre thought, like, wait a minute. So if we go back 8 months, you wanted this? It's just like there's a part of me that says, you didn't know at that point, we didn't know if we were coming all the way through yet. Right. And so I just go, you were just so optimistic. Whereas I don't think if I was in the same situation, I would wait. And so the whole thought process saddens me that on some deep psychic level, something in me has shifted because of all of what we're going through. So when we start this current story, and it says your mother wanted you, what was the line? Your mother wanted you here.
Your mom said she knew you wanted to be born.
Yeah. I felt so optimistic. I said, "Oh, so this is going to be a good. Oh, okay. So it's gonna come back to what the mother saw and what you're gonna do with that superpower." Mm-hmm. And then it was just like, well, wait a minute. This story's only so many pages. It better start getting good fast.
Oops.
Oh, I don't know that line where she says she didn't want you to be abused, but some things they don't change. That was the big flag, red flag right there. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But you were
it's
the exception. I was hoping that something would be the exception, or you coming would address some of that. So I was
Yeah.
still a little hopeful.
I guess
of that.
if 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 we want to strain to find the silver lining, then I guess this increased capacity to to fly out of your body, to not feel the pain that's all around you and being inflicted on you. It sounds like whatever generation this is has honed that ability. So, maybe that's a good thing.
I just thought that line about the people who were in their 20s in one decade, and then they got sick in their 30s, and then in their 40s, and then by the time they were 50, they were all dead. It was just like, well, wait a minute, this is so dark. This is so dark. I mean, it just kind of said, first of all, if you were older than that age, you were gone. So the
Yeah.
only people who were left were the children that the people who were sick and dying begot. And so it was just like, okay, now, so
Is there a
you,
future?
is it? Wow. I just
Yeah.
thought the writing was so beautiful. It was just so many lines that, like when they were talking about the sky ceiling, and there was just so many beautifully worded lines. I just thought it felt so poetic to me. And I don't mean to say that every week, but this really was wonderful. The writing itself.
Yeah, and then you got climate change, nuclear war. I don't know if you guys saw or had a chance to listen to the podcast of Democracy Now, where Daniel Ellsberg, the guy who wrote the Pentagon Papers.
I forgot about it. I meant to listen.
Yeah, but he recently on Democracy Now was saying, has released some more papers. I don't remember if they were papers that he had at that time of the Pentagon Papers, but he didn't, put everything out, or if this is something new. I think it's something new, but he's got the evidence showing that the United States was seriously considering dropping a nuke on China in 1958. And, as an average citizen, it's unthinkable to me that our government would, seriously contemplate that kind of thing. But they dropped the atomic bomb on Japan. They're not above it. We know they're not above it. And so that was just adding to the sadness of this story for me, that it's not out of it's not out of the realm of possibility. Because whatever this struggle we're in, good between good and evil, you know, rich and poor, whatever, however you conceive it, it's deadly.
Yeah.
So I just think the young woman that wrote this story is, you know, looking very clear-eyed at the world we're in. You know, and then she kind of talks about, you know, there's so much a healing circle or all these different kinds of beliefs, positive energy, new age kind of stuff. It's like it's so beyond that stuff, you know. But there was just a lot going on in this story: spirituality, psychic ability, queer trans stuff.
I think there was a little bit too much story going on in the story, to tell you the truth. It was just introducing one topic, another person, another topic. After a while, I was like, who that now? Who we talking about now? Who died? Who dead? Who what? What now? After a while, I was just trying to figure out, you know, it was just too much. It was just too much.
Yeah. Well, when I think about Adrienne Maree Brown's outro, where she talks about, facilitating workshops around the country to try to develop the imagination in our community. Then I have to step back and remind myself that for the most part, these were not. Well, I don't know if they're professional writers or not, but they do say in the beginning of the book that for a lot of people, it was their first time writing science fiction. So, you get A for effort.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I found that interesting too, that what she mentions in the outro, that, they're using this as a traveling facilitation tool for these different communities to try to imagine solutions through speculative fiction. And so, that kind of helped me, like reinform me about, okay, that's part, what these stories that we've been reading are people trying to imagine whatever their circumstance is, in a different way. So, but this particular story, Children Who Fly, is very dramatic. Okay. And, even the fantastical elements that you would think might lift them out of it and be some kind of tool, some transformative tool. It's not, because she ends with the kid still getting raped. And I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
Oh God.
I'm like, really?
Right. They still have prisons, bombs are still being made. Yeah, I have felt that throughout this book, really, that the writers are such, I know to the extent that I'm a writer, writers are such sensitive personalities, and You want to encourage them and, never do anything to discourage them. And you never know how they're going to take to criticism. Some people take it well, others don't, But I feel like if you're facilitating workshops on speculative fiction, science fiction stories from social justice movements, at some point you would specifically be trying to encourage people to find a positive spin on some of this. And, we're at the end of the book now. And so we can see it just didn't happen. And so what I'm saying is, even if you're working with new writers or people who are new to this type of writing, if you're leading them, it just seems like that would be a natural part of where you would be leading them to. We know how bad it is. We know how bad it could be. What we don't have is a vision of how to get out of this.
Okay, so I'm hearing a theme here. I'm feeling a theme, and this is a cathartic exercise of these people in these workshops, and they're pouring themselves out on the pages.
What do you think? Because you do those workshops and stuff.
I think that they must have gotten hundreds of submissions. So why these stories? And then when you read Du's description of knowing and her summary of Octavia Butler's work, I just go, okay, so did that part come after the book was finished?
Good point.
Because it just seemed like that should have been the true north for this book. That here she is telling you the guide of how Octavia's work works. And then you have these stories that don't talk about change, especially this one that we're just talking about. It talks about the change for the worse, but it never said like when we were reading about change is God. So and that was the thing I loved about the parable of the sower and the parable of the talent, because no matter what they were hit with, they kept it moving. They found acorns. They did something. It's like, we're going to plant a garden. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to figure out how to survive. And so I just wish there was a little bit more of that in the selection of stories, that some of these stories, like Michelle said, I just needed to see a little bit more hope. And that one story where the Black woman, her great grandfather asked her to deliver these papers, and she's like, I'm staying in Africa with my boo. I just. So where's the Octavia spirit in that story?
Yeah.
And maybe somebody can show me what it is, because I don't get it, and it could just be that I don't see it through my experiences.
No, I feel you. I feel you, Kim. And I think either you tell us this is, communities expressing, their what they feel about what's going on in their immediate future, or you make it about, the theme of change, right? In science fiction. And I just don't think this particular collection met that high goal. I'm imagining, I'm trying to be positive about it, imagining what their vision was, but I don't think it met it. I think
Mhm.
it was higher than their goal was higher than they were able to meet. Maybe in volume two, they got to get the kinks out. And then when this book was published, um, what was going on, in the country? Because maybe everybody couldn't get to that point where there was hope, right?
Mhm.
So there was still that, oh, why, we'll never get out of this, even though, maybe they were trying to write about a future, a different kind of future. The undercurrent was, no, it's the same shit, different day, we're never getting out. I don't know, I'm just hypothesizing about speaking,
Yeah,
maybe.
no,
It seems
no.
like it's like, if you don't have any hope, read this. If you don't have any hope, read this.
Right, and then you'll kill yourself.
Oh my
Read this right here. If you don't have
Oh my
any hope,
God.
you need to read this here.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
my
I'm not going to
God.
be reading volume two, Geo.
Did anybody read Dark Matter? I didn't read
I
that.
have it, and I started reading some stories in it like a couple of years ago, and then I got distracted, but it's better.
I mean, I'm gonna have to move over to Dark Matter.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. There's actually so much good writing out there. That's what really pisses me off. That we are so good about being so attentive, putting so much time and energy into this work. And so it pisses me off when I feel like the writers or editors haven't given as much effort as we put into reading the material. Because there's a lot to
I
choose
would just
from out
love to hear the selection criteria and what the goal was.
there. Mhm.
Yeah, well, I would just love to hear. Maybe there are interviews online from the editors where we can kind of see um, what this is. But then I like Star Wars. I like the Star Wars thing.
Well, yeah, after
Yeah.
we get past the story, I enjoyed the last half of the book, but Star Wars, is literary criticism, or film criticism. The Only Lasting Truth is by Tanana Reed. Dude, she's wonderful.
It was wonderful.
You
That
know,
was
and I like Adrienne Marie Brown as a writing, but that whole those whole last three pieces are nonfiction, and so I'm also partial to that. So I enjoyed the rest of it. Let's fly away from the children.
Oh.
yeah. Let's get away from that.
Okay.
Kim, are you ready to read number two?
Yes, yes, I am. Uh, Star Wars and the American Imagination by Mumia Abu-Jamal. Find
Mumia.
the writer. I'm sorry.
Mumia.
Okay, Mumia. Sorry. Finding the writer, questioning the meaning of the 1977 movie Star Wars in the American Imagination gives its blockbuster success. He sees an American need to delude itself after defeat in Vietnam, rebellions, and counterculture events of the 1960s and Watergate, to see itself as a rebel fighting a mighty tyrant, and to imagine a youthful innocence before donning the armor of the empire, unless.
Now, even Mumia in his piece by saying unless, but which is more hopeful to me than, now Mumia, I don't know if you guys know, is has been in prison for almost his entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania. And, if anybody has the right to have a bad attitude, it's him. But he still managed to close on a note of hope. So I enjoyed his piece very much.
Yeah, I agree with you. And remembering, being a kid and the time that Star Wars came out, you know, that was a big deal. And especially you go to the movie and you see Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams on the screen. Yes, Black people are included in the future. We're in space. Made you feel good, right? Made you feel good.
Right.
And so, as a kid, you're not, unless you're sitting in front of the news, like some people know as children, paying attention to what's going on, you're not really thinking about how the things that had gone on, Vietnam and Watergate, and it's the 60s, tune in it, what is it, tune in, what is tune something and tune out, whatever, get high, just absolutely rebelling against the constrictive moral standards and every other oppressive thing about what had been held up as the American way, so glorious. But the country was really being disrupted. And so I never thought about the movie being created or the story written and then maybe produced as a sort of psychological, placation of the masses,
But he's right, because he's looking at it through the eyes of the elite, through the eyes of the leadership, the producers, and what their agenda may have been, as opposed to those of us who were the consumers, the target audience. But as I was reading through this, I couldn't help thinking about Wakanda.
Oh.
And how much excitement that generated. You have Black folks dressing up like Africans going to the movie theaters.
Yeah.
It was really an amazing phenomena to kind of observe. But so for me, this article, just encouraged me to take a moment to reflect, really on the role of art, the role of entertainment. And how much, as you said, Georgette, how much it does serve to placate. Like the one of the things that I loved about Black Panther is, contrary to everything that we're saying about this book, it did offer a positive vision, a hopeful vision, a vision, of strong, powerful, brilliant, capable, self-managing Black, in a way that we are not accustomed to seeing on the major motion picture screen. Um, and so you can kind of see how it gave Black people a chance to kind of go off in this fantasy world while the real world around us, you know, is crumbling before our very eyes.
Yeah.
But white folks also have to be pacified.
Yeah.
And Mumia is right. The country was, you know, hell no, we won't go. You know, the country was up in arms right about the time he's talking about. So, but I had not seen Star Wars in that way either. So, you know, he's so insightful. So, what'd you think about it, Kim?
I agree with everything. I love that bit when he talks about when Darth Vader says, "I'm your father." And that just kind of says, you know, you are me. And you may think that you are this innocent rebel, but wait a couple of years when your pockets are light, you'll be just like me. And so that I really liked about how America has this myth that we're the innocent one, our hands are clean. And I think that if we look from decade to decade, there's always a movie that is selling the same bag of goods to young white men, that they are the answer to every issue, every problem. And so I think if you go back to the 50s or the 40s or the 30s, you know, you will see that there was something. And I guess you could go back to Birth of the Nation. There's always some myth that America is selling to white men to say, this is Darth Vader's son. So there's always a Darth Vader's son. And then at some point they become the Darth Vader. Otherwise we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in right now with people storming the Capitol.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, we're never gonna learn because you're not willing to let go of this myth that you're a hero until you decide that you want to own everything. And when you were talking earlier, Michelle, about America wanting to bomb China, it just feels like we shot our own self in the foot, because now China is this economic engine that, you know, we're pretty much China's bitch. And so when you look at,
Pretty much.
So who bombed who? And at this point, you know, when you look at, and I think nobody talks about this, and I wish I had more time to look at it. When you look at our current economic engine, how much of it is foreign money, and what is that foreign money actually purchase? You know, we're here talking about, you know, we want our Black president, we want this, we want that. But I think that this country has been sold already.
Yes.
And so who we put as the leader has been sold already. You know, that whoever owns the real estate, those are the people who have the power here. And I don't think Americans can afford to buy but so much here with American dollars. I'm not sure about that. I'm just saying that that's the feeling that I get when these buildings, these towers go up. And they don't even have to fill these towers because they're going to make money whether the buildings are empty or full. But at the same time, we have never had a greater homeless rate than we have right now. So who owns what when Americans are actually homeless? So who's your Darth Vader, baby? Who's your Darth Vader right now. And who's your Luke Skywalker now? I wonder who that is.
And
Like,
then,
what
and
movie
there's a lot of fear. There's a bill that was passed earlier this month, passed in the Senate on a bipartisan basis. It's for investment in high-tech, cutting-edge industries, $200+ billion for things like microchips, AI, robotics, a bunch of cutting edge stuff like that. Because there's so much, because China apparently has been soaring ahead in these areas for at least the last decade. And so, especially with what happened during the early days of the pandemic, when the country found that it was totally dependent on China for basic supplies. So now it seems like it wants to try to play catch up. But the Chinese ain't no joke. We can have all this internal conflict and competition and racism and all of the stuff that holds us back. But China ain't playing with you like that. So.
Right.
And I think if there was something that happened where all of a sudden, China was taking over our country, you would still have white people saying, "I'm still white, right?" As long as I'm still white, I'm good to go.
They want special dispensation.
Yeah, it's just as long as I'm better than them, as long as I'm still better than them. It was It was like this woman who I think I may have said the story before, but when Trump cut off one of the delivery foods, it's like I don't know if it was Meals on Wheels or the other one, but they had cut the budget to delivering meals to seniors. And they was interviewing this older white woman. And so they said to her, you're not going to be able to get this food anymore. And she says, "But I'm white." Like, she didn't mind if it impacted other people. And so this is your president. So I don't know. I'm sorry if that was too heavy hitting and whatnot, but I did.
Oh, hey.
No,
it's real.
It's a real issue. It's going on 7:00. Let me let's jump down to Tanana. I'll read it. Number.
What you say, Tanana?
Tanana Reeves. I mean, these folks have a whole lot of syllables going on in these names today.
Yes, they do.
The Only Lasting Truth by Tanana Reeves. The writer offers a biographical image of Octavia Butler, painting her as an empathetic person who had a vision far beyond the offenses of this world. Du identifies the matriarchal role Butler played among Black writers of speculative fiction and shares her view on the impact of this loss. Most significantly, Du traces Butler's career in publishing, noting recurring themes in the MacArthur geniuses' books, such as Ills in American Society, Pitfalls of Hierarchy, Dominance and Resistance, Acceptance of Differences, the omnipotence of change, and the blending of ethnicities and species. She also offers short descriptions and analyses of Butler's most well-known works. So I enjoyed this piece most of all. It was long,
Yes,
Yeah.
but
I
it was
loved
so
it
well
too.
done. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I almost feel like maybe she should have put this like in the middle, or like alternated stories with these pieces, the
Mhm,
nonfiction pieces, to give it
mhm.
like a better flow, and keep the reader on, okay, yes, this is what we're reading about. This is this topic, you know, and keep us hopeful.
Yeah, yeah.
Seemed like
Good.
that didn't have anything to do with this book.
Yeah.
It didn't. It just seemed like this didn't have anything to do with this book.
Yeah.
And so on that theme, if she had put this like in the middle or at the beginning, and then had like little people write about, their experience reading an Octavia Butler novel or something, or how it changed their lives, it could have given it better flow, right? I hear what you're saying.
I think it would just pissed you off. You would be sitting there saying, "That ain't this to do with this. How come she didn't get the papers there? How come she didn't get the papers to the ferry? How come she didn't get the papers to the ferry?"
That
Yeah.
guy might not have made the cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Because I think we started comforting ourselves at some point, saying, "Well, maybe because it's titled Octavia's Brew, maybe we were the ones who leaped into the fact that this was some connection to Octavia's writing."
Mhm.
And so then when you get to the end of the book and you say, "Oh, this is what we thought it was," but it's not. It didn't. It just feels like I just loved reading this piece by Tenaria. Tenaria. I'm
Okay.
mispronouncing the name, and I apologize. I
It,
just
it,
loved reading this piece, and I feel like
It was
I got to
nice.
read this again because I felt so hopeful. I felt like some of the quotes I want to have, posted up because we're going through such a dark time. But that's what I was hoping to get from this book is this feeling of hang in there. It's going to be rough. Not that the children are going to learn how to fly and still get raped. I mean, it just feels like you mean to tell me I got wings and I could be raped. I got was it invisibility and I still it's like all these stories, everybody has so much power, but nobody has agency and a plan. And so I thought the hope for me would be what was the story where they had the where they were the models
Oh, that was
uh-huh.
and they could transform themselves, they could shapeshift.
Uh-huh.
And the
Runway
best you got,
Blackout. Yeah.
yeah, the best you could do with your shapeshifting is model. I think if we weren't in this pandemic, I think I would be more graceful and more poised. I just think that in this pandemic, it just feels like where's the hope in some of these stories in terms of if children can fly, what else can they do and what are they going to fly to? You know,
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
you can't
And
come right back to the
and the
same
flight,
story.
the flight is like spiritually leaving their body, but they're not physically addressing any of the problems in their real world. They just off to fantasy land.
So like why not have it to be like tomorrow I'm going to fly when I leave my body, I'm going to fly east as far as I possibly can and see if there's anything in that direction that could save us. And if it is, I'm going to come back and get my body and my people.
Right.
But if it isn't, I'm going to go west the next day.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep searching for something as long as I can leave my body and walk on the ceiling of the sky. I'm looking for something as opposed to this is nice. Man, this is nice. I dig this dissociation. I like being disassociated. So I'm gonna come back to my body, in the morning after I've had this. It feels like drug addiction. It just felt like I'm just gonna keep getting high, coming back to the same situation.
As you're talking, Kim, I'm thinking, I hope we're not putting our finger on a wider problem in the community. It tends to be our writers who give us the visions, who help us see a different way, a better way, a bigger way. And if the young writers today can't seem to put their fingers on a vision, that's not good. I hope this is just a collection of people that happen to come together in this book and that they're not representative of the young people today.
I hope so too. I don't think so. I think when we were reading The Night Women, was it The Night Women?
Marlon,
I think it was Marlon James. I thought it was The Night Women. Man, that book had so much power in it. Man, if any of those women could shapeshift, sure, honey child, those plantation owners, whoa, they would have had it in store for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Imagine if those women, those women of the night, those night women could shapeshift.
Yes.
They were already working the juju. They were already working whatever they could find. Yeah. So they had agency, and by the time you finish reading that, you started to feel like, I'm glad somebody's fighting back and standing up for something. Mm-hmm. So I think that they're there. I think they're writing it. I'm just wondering if we talk to the editors of this book, what was your selection process? Because I send out work and I know 200-300 submissions have gone out.
Wow.
There's so much to pick from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't get this collection. But I did like that. I like that broken wing angel. That angel
black
that
angel.
Yeah, that was my girl.
Yeah, I mean there were pieces that I liked. I enjoyed the Sanford and Son play. With oh God, what's the guy's name?
Was it
it just went out of my head, but you know who I mean.
The psychedelic cat. What's that?
The orchestra and
yes. Oh my goodness.
Sun Ra.
Yes, Sun Ra. That's it.
Oh yeah.
That was interesting. I was listening to that music like, whoa, what is this?
I liked the token superhero.
Oh,
I think towards the beginning of the book, I was in it more. Yeah, I love that token superhero. I like the river. Yeah. Okay, so now, but it's the book started to take a turn. I like the river.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of them had a lot of potential. Some of the other ones, they just needed some more, you got to go back and revise it if it's not just right. Okay.
Right.
So they shouldn't be afraid to go back because authors do it all the time. Right, Kim? They do it all the time to go back
Yeah.
and redo their stuff. So
Absolutely.
How was The Long Memory? That was another good one.
Uh,
oh yeah.
That was the one they were in prison and
And then she had to go out. Right? Is that the one where she leaves the cave underground? Is that the one? Am I thinking
she
of a
finds
different
I
one?
think she finds herself in prison. They oh, this is a big one. That was the one with Holt, and then Holt was like would move you to like this prison island, and then her
mm-hmm,
goal was to try to get off of it, and the gardener kind of helps them see the way.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's what I like. I like that there's hope. I need some hope.
Yeah.
I think it's just me personally. It's been a dark year, so it's like let's get some hope up in here.
Well, and one of the things that Tanana Reeve talks about is that Octavia Butler suffered with depression, um, which I don't know if we talked about that when we were reading her books. I don't know if you knew
No,
Mm-mm.
that.
No, I didn't know that.
But it's not surprising to me.
and the shyness, the painful shyness that she started out with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it's exactly those qualities that gave her the kind of sensitivity and vision, um, that and led her to write about the types, the themes that she focused on. Um, she was clearly very, very in tune, very empathic herself.
Right.
Um,
But how it all
yeah.
comes together for her, I don't know how many drafts, how many edits, but those books were seamless. It's just like she didn't leave you hanging up here. It wasn't too much information or too little information. Like sometimes in some of these stories, they just cram in all of this detail and then you start to lose the storyline. You just go, how do we like there was one story where all of a sudden we were in a hovercraft somewhere and it was just like, huh? Where are we now? And so Octavia is just kind of that transitions, her transitions were getting you from one thought to the next place, to the next action, to the next action. It just was all seamless. And then to make this whirl up while you're doing that, I was just lost in her stories.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, well, she was a MacArthur genius.
Mhm.
That's right.
So, uh, uh, and I guess it's unfair of us to expect from these writers, you know, the same quality of work. Genius, you know. But yeah. But no, I thought
Then don't name your book after her. Then don't name your book after her. I was trying so hard not to say anything. I was like, I'm gonna show some grace and discipline, and I blew it. I blew it.
Yeah.
I blew it.
We're
well,
all kind of
yeah.
feeling the same way. They had a nice goal and they just didn't quite meet it. I don't know. And I think I have to go back to what you said, Michelle, about, is that where the feelings the emotions and the mentality, the psyche of this generation that's creating, this written art right now. Is that where they are? They're having a hard time imagining being free, absolutely finding their way out of this morass of messed up stuff, that their lives are comprised of right now. Is it even, you know, you have to be able to imagine something to create it. And if they can't imagine something better than what they're in, without, just these plot devices of having these different superpowers or abilities, and yet that still doesn't free you, then there's something else going on. And it doesn't speak well of the future, for
No, it doesn't.
culture.
I'm thinking about John Lennon's song, my favorite version is Herbie Hancock's version of Imagine. Do you all know that version where
No, with Herbie Hancock? Mm-mm.
oh my God, he works with
heard that.
artists from all around the world. And they produced that song, Imagine. Imagine all the people. Yeah. And
I'm
when
wondering
you
though.
think about the music that the young people are I can't tell you what it is because I stopped listening to it a long time ago. But it definitely was not taking me to a happy place, So I don't know what they're listening to.
I'm also wondering if there were two stories that I remember that were written about Black people, but they weren't written by Black people. And those were the two stories that gave us the most comments in terms of, why? Why? And so the story about the great grandfather who was at Dobbs Ferry, that was not written by a person of color. And so you may not be able to see a future that includes me where I am my own advocate. And so I'm just wondering how that plays a part in terms of making so not to say that it's a whole generation when some of these stories aren't even written by that generation.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not written by that generation and not, for the most part, Black people. I mean, they're all people, most of them look like people of color. Even that white man that wrote the thing about the John Brown, he looks white, but maybe he's not. We don't know.
We don't know.
But it looks like a very multicultural crew of writers. And and maybe we're expecting, maybe it's unrealistic for us to expect them to be able to see a Black point of view. I was listening to this debate. I listen to the Daily every day. It's a 30-minute podcast by the New York Times, and they just take one story and deal with it, pretty intensely. So this was a discussion going on between a white mother and her adult daughter. And the daughter supports the idea of defund the police. The mother does not. So they're having this discussion because today is the mayoral race in New York City today. And so, one of the sort of prominent issues in the campaign has been, well, how do you feel about defund the police?
Right.
So the mother was describing all the fears that she has moving through the city and why she feels more comfortable when she sees more police. And the daughter was trying to help her mother see that, yeah, but you can't understand what it's like to be in a Black body, you know, and the reaction that you're gonna have when you see the police. So they went back and forth about that. But it's just always striking to me. I mean, I come from the perspective that, you know, we all need food to eat. We all need a roof over our head and food and, you know, clothes on our back. And we have to take food in and eliminate food. And they're just some basic things that we have in common as human beings. And yes, we have differences, but I've never really been able to understand why it's so difficult for so many people, it seems, to empathize with others, even when you don't have their direct experience. That's how it is. You know, that's how it is. And so that's one of the striking things about Octavia Butler is that she was so empathetic. But you know, I guess I'm saying that for the most part, the writers of this volume didn't seem to reflect a lot of empathy.
Mm.
Well, better luck next time. Next time. Hey, they got it out there.
They
That's
got
wonderful.
it out there.
They're wonderful.
That is wonderful. That
Okay.
is true.
Because there's a whole bunch of other bad books for other people out there too, okay? So
Yeah,
you got to start somewhere.
yeah, yeah.
I ran into Leonie on a Zoom meeting, and so I said to her, "Oh, we're almost finished Octavia's Brew. We miss you." And she said, "Oh yeah, yes, yeah." I said, "Okay, so you know, I think you gave us a tiny bit of a warning against this book." And she says, "I think I did."
So very graciously stated.
And no, she was very gracious. She was very gracious. She was just like, "Yeah." She says, "Oh, I think so and so picked that." And I was just like, "Oh yeah." Yeah. It was just like,
We didn't know. Oh
but
my
we were all
goodness.
like, "Okay, okay, sure, sure."
We had high hopes. We had high hopes.
And you know, it's sad because whenever we go into fiction, I'm praying that it's great so that because you know who don't want no fiction up in here. So I'm just praying. I'm just praying that the book is good.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, we did set the bar high with the Book of Night Women
Yes,
and
the
the
book of
Parable
night.
of the Sowers. Okay, the
And
next
you know what the key was in both of those cases?
what's that?
The person who recommended the book had read the book. So Randy was already a Butler aficionado,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And Leonie was already a Marlon James aficionado.
Right.
So
that's right.
you know, that's why. And so we just kind of picked this one out of the air. So I'm not gonna hold it against you, Kim.
Kim wasn't the only one. I championed this book also. You know, we were
I didn't
going on
pick
the
this
strength.
book.
of Octavia. The name we're going with, the
Yes,
name you know, like that movie Eddie Murphy was in. What was that? Vote for me, the name you know.
no, it doesn't turn me off to fiction. I mean, I still feel the way I feel about book group and fiction, but it doesn't turn because I do read fiction. I know there's a truckload of wonderful stuff out there. This just wasn't it.
Yeah, I wanted to read The
Okay.
Salt Eaters.
Oh yeah, yeah, you
Okay.
did,
Kate
you did.
Barbara, that was my book.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And
Well,
so I'm torn between
More fiction?
recommending things that I've already read and I know are good versus wanting to read something new myself. I don't want to read something I've already read.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's the thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But
I have to think of fiction that I just absolutely love and that I've read and recommend
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I'm a slow reader, so when I hear Leonie say, "Oh, I read 12 books this month," I'm just like, "Huh? How'd you do
Okay.
that?" Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like to be a slow reader because I like to really um, absorb as much as I can, you know. Um, and again, as I said earlier, that's why it pisses me off. If I'm gonna put the time and energy into it, then I want the writer to do the same. But I mean, I love people like James Baldwin and Alice Walker and
Oh yeah,
you
Toni
know just
Morrison.
just yeah, when you know that is available, why would you read anything else?
Because you're
I think
hopeful
I think
that the
someone
next one is out
someone
there.
someone recommended Sula. I think Sula was on our list somewhere.
Oh, I think it was. I think
Was.
it was.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll do another fiction at some point, I'm sure.
We could do another fiction back to back because this didn't work. So we owed a good fiction.
Yeah.
Right.
What was the runner up to this one? What was the runner up title to this one? Was
You
it the
remember,
Salt
Michelle?
Eaters? I think it was the Salt Eaters.
I don't remember because the vote really didn't go well. Remember last time it drug on forever, and then finally the three of us just got together one day and just to take a book off the
Yeah, we did do that.
Yeah.
list.
I always like when
So,
we read like bell hooks because I think that's what I feel like, some bell hooks.
oh, I love Bell Hooks, you know. And it's not that I think she's the most eloquent writer. She's a very plain, straight, but I love her straight to the point,
Yeah.
straightforward style. But she's not eloquent like Alice Walker, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
And
I
that's
love Bell Hooks.
okay.
That's okay.
Yeah,
They got their styles.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so anyway, all right. Well, anything to say? Let's see. Let me read the little description of the outro. Adrienne Marie Brown. Here, the editor shares, this is number 4, how she and Walidah Imarisha are planting seeds and cultivating radical imaginations using tools, frameworks, and principles, including visionary fiction, emergent strategy, and workshops for writers of collective science fiction and visionary fiction. Now, see, I think Adrienne Marie Brown is herself a very good writer.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know that she's so good yet at bringing it out in others, which is a totally different skill, and talent. But whenever I read anything that she's written, it seems very well done to me. So,
Yeah.
and I like the intent. I like the intent of cultivating radical imagination. I do think that's what it's about. But it's hard to do, and I think also, there's a lot of negative energy. There's a lot of negative energy in the world. And so part of what I'm sure she's coming up against in trying to cultivate radical imaginations is that negativity that's so prevalent, and so when people are really submerged in that kind of thinking, which our society cultivates, then it's more than a notion to get them to open another window, see another way. But I applaud her and Walidah for trying. Okay, any final thoughts, comments, overall reflections? We've been reflecting on the whole book throughout, right?
We were trying to stay positive, and then about the middle, like we let it all hang out. What was that? Where's the word?
I think the beginning, the stories went from stronger to softer to weaker. And then after a while, towards the middle, it was just like, when is this book gonna be finished? So I really thought, I'm so glad that you reminded us that this book started off strong. It really did.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, we're reading things and you just go, what now? All right.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, that's okay. I just I would love sometime to read J. California Cooper, because all of her stories make you feel good. They just say, you want to feel good, read some of this here. So, and I know that's not why we're here. Huh?
And I tend to not really be a fan of like anthologies, because you are getting all these different voices, some better than others. But the one that was good was This Bridge Called My Back.
Oh yes, it was.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
It was all of those different voices, but they were all wonderful. And that is one that felt like whoever the editors were of that book, they had really held to a certain standard, and as you said, Gio, go back and give it another try. Okay, nice first draft.
Okay.
Here's
iron out the wrinkles. Mm-hmm. Use that constructive feedback in that.
Yes. Oh, I don't know what happened here, but they tried, and unfortunately, it does mean I would not read a volume 2 of this book. But maybe we are the exceptions, because it does have a lot of positive reviews. As you pointed out, Kim, the young lady that told you they're using it in her class, and
she was very happy. She was very happy.
Yeah.
I sure wish we could have talked to her and asked her some questions. I'd like to grill her. I'm like, well, so what is it that your class found that was so wonderful and and
I thought we
harrowing
would have
about
brought her over to
stories.
the dark side. I think we probably would have brought girlfriend over to the dark side.
No, we're open and inviting. We would never make her change her beliefs.
She would say, and another thing, my teacher didn't say this.
We do have those night women qualities.
We do.
Oh my goodness.
We do. Can I just tell you something? I was watching The Soul of a Nation on Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this wonderful history of us here in this country. And then they start talking about how everybody knows about Woodstock, but nobody knows about the Harlem Festival of Music. And so that may not be the exact name, but it just went on and on and on. And it was one Black act after another, and the highlight was Nina Simone. And so I'm like, yeah, we didn't get the press. So they said, let's see Nina Simone. And Nina Simone starts singing a little bit about feeling good. And she's at that piano, and I think you've probably seen some of that footage. And it's a whole documentary that's coming out about that musical festival. And so then they said, and now we're going to have a young lady who is very popular right now. She's going to do her version of Feeling Good. And I was like, oh, suck it now. It wasn't feeling good. It was feeling sexual. And I at one point she was laying down, doing a little hump to the floor. And I don't understand. I mean, I know I'm a night woman. I know that now. But I hear you have Barack Obama on the same show, and you bring this beautiful young Black woman out, and she is so athletically, gracefully built that she can do almost anything with this body. And she has on this little cat suit that the cheeks are out. And I just said, why is it that we always have to say that our sexuality is our power, when that is a power of ours, but that's not the power of ours? Yeah. And so after a while, when there was this little bit of a twerk, they even lifted the camera so that we couldn't see what her hindparts were doing. And I just, can somebody help me understand why we always have to do this? What is this? Is it me? Help me understand. Is this me?
All I can say is fill your head with Amanda Gorman at the inauguration, and try to blot out that image.
But I guess my issue with it is what I always say. It says to the 12-year-old Black girl, "This is my worth," and that is why I find it so problematic that here you're talking about the civil rights movement, you're talking about slavery, you're talking about this, you're talking about that, and then all of a sudden there's an ass out. I just don't understand it. That we have to start thinking about who's coming up next. And that's speculative fiction when you start to say, I have to act in a way to look at who's coming up next. And I do believe that there's a time and a place for everything. So that whole thing that young lady did was stunning. That just wasn't the time and the place. I don't know. I will get off my soapbox.
Yeah, but who were the producers? Who were the producers of that program? Now, I saw some of it, but is this the one where, I know the one you're talking about, but I'm trying to remember, is this the same Soul of a Nation that Sunny Hostin, you know Sunny Hostin from The View, host a program? I think it normally comes on Monday nights at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I think Soul of a Nation is a continuing thing, but this was their special.
This was the special for Juneteenth. This was the big
Juneteenth one. And so I went looking for where I could make a comment, And so I haven't found that because it's not posted up on their social media. The older shows are on their social media. But I just
Mhm.
feel like, I gotta stop barking around and to just kind of ask questions and say, help me understand that, because there was this other thing, and I hope this doesn't make the tape, Michelle, but there was this other event where it was an anti-Asian hate rally.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, yeah, anti. And so all these people are coming up to talk about this. And then there's this rap group comes on, and all the black girls are got on booty shorts and twerking. And I just went, I don't
Yeah.
understand. I literally don't understand. And maybe there's something in the culture that's shifted and I don't understand the shift. So I would love to have a platform, a panel discussion of different ages of us so that we could explain to each other what we're feeling about this, because I just don't know. But all I know is this ain't the time for that. From my opinion.
I don't know either. I don't know either, Kim. And I mean, I'm tempted to say, when it's some kind of public event like that, it's the producers, it's the adults in the room that are promoting that kind of, for their marketing purposes, that's what they want to show. But when you see that same young girl hanging out on the street and looking as if she has no self-respect, then it's bigger than people wanting to exploit us. It's how we have learned to devalue ourselves. And and I don't really know how to have the conversation. I mean, because when we have tried to talk to young women in the past, and we have suggested that maybe someone like Beyonce is not the best role model for all things.
That's right.
Then we've been left trying to sew up our assholes. So
That's a rather stark vision.
Oh. Wow.
I think it was an amicable split.
They really don't want to hear it. They really don't. We're not communicating.
No.
And so for that generation that came out of slavery, who had no control over their bodies, who were manhandled and fondled and used in every manner, they seem to come out with a determination to take control over their bodies and their image, and and so maybe they went to an extreme with the respectability politics.
Right.
And so the more recent generations have been rebelling against that, but it's to the point where it is now, where it's really almost full circle back to the slavery era, where your only value is what you can do with your body.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Well, I'm going to go and vote for mayor. Vote for Miley.
Vote for mayor. Go
Okay.
So I have enjoyed this. I'm just so glad to have this group to talk about these books with. And I will see you guys next week to figure out our next steps.
Okay. See you next week.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. See you later.